All right, we are live.
Okay. I'd like to call the Utility Committee meeting to order. Roll call of committee members. Julie, would please.
Mr. Richard,
Here.
Mr. Strickler,
Here.
Mr. Woodmansey.
Here.
Okay, all the members are present. You probably have already seen it, gentlemen, the minutes from our February 3rd meeting. If you don't have any,
Make that motion.
we'd like to make a motion to
Approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mr. Strickler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We have one thing on the agenda tonight. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Okay, Mr. Strickler made the motion.
Second that.
Second by Mr. Woodmansey. All in favor? Aye. Sorry, gentlemen, my voice just died. So, this is cost allocation discussion, and for you guys, the new members, I'm going to kind of turn this over to the mayor and Nikki. I think they'll give you more thorough.
I handed you the spreadsheet that we use annually for the cost allocation. This was established when we first got under fiscal emergency, when the general fund was in trouble and the utility funds were fairly healthy. And what it does is that you take the total expenses from each fund, and then you get a grand total of expenses. If you look at net expenditures, you have total expenditures in each fund, and then you take out the capital outlay, any advances or transfers that were done, any debt payments. If you look down under electric, the cost of power, and it shows your net expenditures of basically each fund, and it gives you a total, and then there's a percentage of each of the water, sewer, electric, and stormwater funds of that grand total. And then, so you take that percentage, and then you look at it, what it was done is to help offset the cost of administration of the city. So council, mayor's office, safety service director, auditor, treasurer, and law director's budgets. It was an opportunity to reimburse the general fund from the utility funds for the cost of doing business. Subsequently, here in the last few years, we have started subsidizing some, at least the water, and with general fund money. So we're taking money from the utility and we're giving it to the general fund, and at the end of the year, we're going costing out cost allocation, and we're sending the money back. The general fund is healthy, and the utilities now are the ones that are day to day, if you will. So it's my suggestion. I've talked with Roberta, I've talked with local government services. This does not need an ordinance. This was passed in budget. If you look on the back of the page, the highlighted areas would be the monies that would be coming out of those funds that would be going back to the general fund. So you're talking about $112,000 from the water going to the general fund, $89,000 from the sewer, $94,000 from electric, and $28,000 from the storm. My suggestion is that at this time we halt that practice. We have not transferred this money yet this year. Here's the simple thing. If we're looking at a budget that's looking at $2 to $2.5 million from the general fund to the water fund, why is the water fund giving $112,000 and sharing it back around?
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
You're right.
So with the way the general fund is sitting today, this makes perfect sense to not do that. Again, the only thing, if we wanted to do anything in an ordinance, is we would reduce the appropriations in those lines so that they're zeroed out. Even if we don't do it, there's no cash that's being transferred over.
Right.
So I'm just suggesting that we don't do that. I'm bringing it to committee, just so you're upfront knowing why it doesn't make sense to do it at this point.
And ultimately, it's just saving a step on transferring the money back and forth.
Yeah, right. I mean, we don't take any money from we don't subsidize the electric, we don't subsidize the storm. We haven't subsidized the sewer, but again, that's $89,000 in the sewer that we can use for other projects. It's $94,000 in the electric that we use for other maintenance, repair, whatever.
Right.
So at this point, with the general fund being stable. I think that's a good way to say it. I don't think there's any reason at this point, and if something changes down the road and it flips, then we can always come back to this.
And being that it's not going into an ordinance form, it's even easier to,
There's nothing that has to be done. There's no transfer to be done, and right now it's in the budget. If you look at the expenditure lines on cost allocation on the big expense report, those numbers are in there, but there hasn't been an expense made. So,
And we can leave those in there.
Yeah.
Have the money in the account.
So because it was in the budget, because it was passed in last year's budget and it's allocated this year, I thought it was important to come here and discuss it, but I think it's a wise business decision at this point to not do that and moving forward until we decide that it needs to happen.
Right.
at the end of the year, will this show anything that you would have to, you would potentially have to go back and explain, remember, this is why we did this?
No,
Or
not necessarily.
it won't show up as anything different?
What it's gonna show is, at the end of the year, if we were 100% accurate on our revenue estimation, we would be $324,000 short in the revenue and general fund. But we're gonna be $112,000 over in water, $89,000.
Which is where we could use the money.
Correct.
Where we need the money, so perfect, okay, so really it was just a good conversation piece.
Yes, but it,
Transparent, right?
again, I'm giving you an opinion, but I'm not saying that that's always the correct one. I'm just giving you an idea of where we sit,
It's
so.
almost like over budget anyway, it wouldn't be a bad thing anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep the money.
Yeah, good. Again, at the end of the year, the only thing, if we wanted to have our budget correct, the allocations correct, we could do an ordinance to reduce the appropriations in those lines.
I don't see the.
There's,
I don't see the
that's more of
thing.
accounting and, what do we send to the auditor? The certificate, amended certificate. So actually it basically will help that because we're expected to spend $3 million in the water. I'm just rounding that, and now we're gonna spend $2.85 million in the water. So, the revenue will actually be okay, so. Okay.
Sounds good. Anything else on this then?
Not on cost allocation.
Okay,
Okay, so let me hand you, if you can do other business.
yeah, that's what I did for me to do.
This is an email that was between myself and Roberta.
Okay.
And then this is the corresponding figures.
Okay.
Julie, I can give you copies if you want for them.
Okay, so we're going to, we're done with the cost allocation discussion. This is other business now, which, again, I will let the mayor and the.
So this is talking about forgiveness or eliminating the easiest and simplest way is delinquent accounts in the water and wastewater electric accounts. Here's the history. Normally, the wastewater and water, and they are currently since the beginning of 23 and moving forward and prior to 2022, the water and electric and wastewater accounts paid for the electric that they used. They paid their electric bill. In 2022, council approved the budget that, well, the end of 21, but in 22, they approved the budget to not pay the electric bills for water and wastewater because of the funded accounts. So they didn't pay those. It was approved by council, it was in the budget not to pay those, and it was passed, and that's how we operated. And then we went back to paying those bills. But if you look at the bills, and if you look at the top, there's 5 water electric accounts, and there's 10 wastewater electric accounts that are all showing delinquent. Now, we're paying the bills, we're paying the actual monthly due bills on everything, but the way the utility accounts work, I'm correct, first in, first out. So you're seeing the one account that is $98,000 delinquent. When we pay an $8,500 charge, it goes towards the delinquent accounts, and then that $8,500 becomes delinquent, if you will. In talking with Mrs. Wade and talking with the auditors, we can forgive this. And we can we're basically writing off what council said that we weren't going to pay at the beginning. So this would clean up the books. We have no intention at this point to pay those. Neither one of those accounts have $119,000 or $104,000 in to catch those up. And it's already been paid, but what this would do, we could create an ordinance to forgive the delinquent amounts on both of those accounts as was passed by council. And that just clears those up, so instead of seeing delinquent on each one of those accounts, it makes them zero. And it would take the delinquencies off the books by $223,000.
So with that being said, obviously this is, like you very clearly stated, the bills have been paid.
No,
I'm talking,
the AMP bill has
the
been
AMP bill
paid.
has been paid.
Yes.
We do not owe 119 and 104,000 to AMP.
No.
It's saying we're not paying ourselves
Right.
for this.
We're not reimbursed,
Right, and this is, once again, this is just for clarity for these little things sitting in the room. People out in the other world. The bills have been paid. It's cleaning up our books from the city. And in the end, why have the numbers out there? Because anybody and everybody wants to look at that as pure negative, negligence and this, that, and the other. And
This was something that was done by council. It was a conscious effort. The mayor at the time proposed it and it was passed, and that's how it went. On top of this, we're actually going to start looking with Amanda down at the utility office for some of the delinquent accounts that are 10, 12, 14 years old that have been through collections that have come back and that are uncollectible debt. Some people have passed away, some people have moved away, they filed for bankruptcy, whatever the reason is, and there's some of those that they're just uncollectible. So why are we carrying them on?
Are some of these still active though?
Oh,
They're active.
yeah, so if you,
Right.
the ones in front of you here, absolutely, if you actually look at the amount due, the current charge, which this would have been done, this was the January bills. So the current charges that you see in there have been paid, and they have been paid since January of '23.
Right.
So we're not behind on that. The last 2.5 years, we've paid the bills religiously because it's been back in the budget and it's been taken care of.
I understand that, but if these are from the consumer, the customer, right? And that's what I'm asking, basically. Or is this just the city's bill?
This is the city's bill.
Yeah.
These are cities, these are
like,
literally,
that garage has its own meter, that garage
That's what
has its.
I'm curious about.
That's what this is. And I'm guessing like ones that the big
Make that
plant.
clear. That is
Yeah.
that's not
business
some
account.
business or somebody's house, that this, right.
No.
Make that clear to everybody. It's
Yeah.
the
not-
wastewater accounts, if you look at the last 4 or 5 of them, they're all lift stations.
Okay,
No, man. No.
yep,
Yeah, there's a whole little bit.
Yeah, there's
So,
Not much, but I mean, yeah, anyway. So we will draft an ordinance for that so you guys can see that.
Yeah.
And then if we,
to me, that only makes sense, to be honest with you, to get that negative number that's not actually negative, but just to clean things up. You know what I mean?
okay.
So if you guys need the draft.
Is this the one you were talking about that you wanted to go grab though?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So, if it's consensus of the committee, Julie, go ahead and draft up an ordinance.
Yeah, I'll work with them to get it drafted.
And what we'll do is have it put on the agenda for the next council
Yep,
meeting. and
we'll
we'll
vote
put it
onto the agenda, yep.
And when we get a list of those really old delinquent accounts put together, we'll take a look at that and we'll bring it to the committee as well.
What was the last time something like that was looked at? Do we have any idea? I don't want to have an idea. I get that.
No,
I mean-
I don't know that it's been done since I've been here.
yeah.
Like,
There are,
well over 10 years.
so the process is if someone goes delinquent, they try to collect it for 2 or 3 months and then it goes to a collection agency and they take it for a while, and if the collection agency collects it, they get half of the bill. And then after a period of time when it's with the collection agency, they go, this is uncollectible, and they send it back to us and it just goes into a dormant file. So,
Thanks for cooking it up.
Yeah, and honestly, you can let the filing cabinet get over full, or you can just clean it up at some point, right? And I think maybe some of the stuff will right to that point, like clean it up, get a clean slate, and let's go from there with stuff.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay, any other
Do you
business?
know what other,
You wanna talk about the delinquent letters that went out?
yeah. 760, yeah, Nikki, go ahead.
Last week, the annual spring, you haven't paid your bills since November, letters went out, so we're gonna start doing shut-offs next week. Accounts that are 60 days or more delinquent, 760 letters went out last week for people who are 60 days or more delinquent. Shut-offs will be happening next Thursday. If people don't get current or sign a payment plan if they're eligible, the delinquent amount was over $500,000. So, the clerks will be making reminder calls in addition to sending out the letters to let people know they've got to get their payments in.
Is there any, Ryan, is there any, can you give us a sense of any, number of chronic ones that are always showing up, or is it
There,
usual, unusual,
yes,
you know, I
there
mean,
were- as I looked through the list, it was, I recognized many of the names.
Some
yes.
frequent flyers out there.
But, you know, there are a lot of them that they were on the list because we knew they'd be getting winter crisis money. So some of those people will be coming off just because we help them basically become eligible for as much money as they can, assistance-wise. So there will be a large number of those coming up because they'll get some money from community action. And another chunk of those people will be eligible for payment plans, will sign up for payment plans. Another chunk of them
we'll have to go to collection.
will be traveling around next week to make the payments.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I wasn't trying to signal anybody
No,
out, I
it's-
just want you to feel.
That's
And
the-
quite frankly, we couldn't signal, I mean, we can't tell you a name.
Oh, no, and I didn't want that, I
That's-
just wanted to give us a committee a sense of what we're dealing with, or what you guys are dealing with. So, anything else? Well, our next meeting is, April 7th, at this, sometime after 7 o'clock, and, with that, a motion, Mr.
I'll make that motion.
Adjourn, second by Mr. I forget your last name now. I'm getting old.
Strickler.
Strickler, thank you.
Mr. Birthday.
Yeah, Mr. Birthday, that's what I do. All in favor?
7:19 PM.
Okay, we are.
Live. We're live, so.
So we'll go ahead and call the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Committee meeting at 7:21 PM. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Watkins,
Here.
Mr. Richard,
Here.
Mr. Strickler.
Here.
Okay, and then we've got minutes from the February 3rd, 2026 meeting. Can I get a motion to
I'll make a
approve?
motion to approve the minutes of February 3rd, 2026.
Motion made by Mr. Strickler,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign? Okay, so the minutes are approved. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion. To
Motion
approve
made.
it.
I'll second the motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Richards, second by Mr. Strickler. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, great. So we have a couple discussion items, and this will probably go pretty quickly. The first item on the agenda is for the TID district that we talked about creating. And just want to make this committee aware that we're having a special meeting Thursday this week at the Galion Community Theater at 6 o'clock p.m. So it will be an official committee meeting where we'll be discussing the potential formation of a TID district, alternatives. Our mayor has looked into that for us and found that there may be some better alternatives, and there may be some things with the TID itself that doesn't quite fit what we're looking for. So we'll have a discussion about that. And then we'll just kind of have an open discussion about different plans for uptown and how that would affect tourism, and even elements that are not uptown that may affect tourism. So that's the plan for that meeting. Hopefully everybody on the committee can be there, and anybody else that would like to attend. Anybody have any input on that meeting?
I won't be there.
Okay, so the mayor won't be there.
What was the stuff that you didn't find?
We're still trying to get an answer.
Okay.
It's,
It's moving in a direction that it may not be best for us to form a TID. There may be.
it might be something that I have to talk with Mr. Bear about, in the language for the tourism improvement district versus the special improvement district. And some of the tourism improvement, the TID side of things, deals with population of the city, or it deals with townships, but it also deals with the population of the city and the population of the county, of which if the numbers are correct, we don't meet either one of those. It's 75,000 and 300,000. Well, we're not on either end of those, so.
Yeah.
So I can talk with Mr. Bear about that when we find a spare minutes or.
So we might be pivoting and coming up with our own version of our tourism district, or looking into other avenues that would better fit what we're trying to accomplish. Any other input on the TID meeting for Thursday night?
Would there still be availability for grants and that type of, for those type of improvements? That's, even though we're not technically looking at tourism.
There would be. There currently is.
Right.
That may have provided more opportunity,
Okay.
but I think if we're not able to form a TID, then we can pivot, look at other things that are out there that we may be able to establish that might be comparable, I hope.
I can just tell you off the top of my head, I looked up the Tourism Development District in the revised code, the 715.014. This is clearly one of those that was designed for like one certain, basically I'll look at A4, says eligible municipal corporation means a municipal corporation wholly or partly located in a county having a population greater than 375,000 but less than 400,000. I'm suspicious, I'm pretty sure that probably meant there was one county in the state. They basically said, this county gets this. Is a special legislative grant.
But I think the SID certainly, the special improvement district would certainly qualify for that, so. I think we could, because I think Merrill Leary tried to push that a few years ago, so.
So we'll have some interesting things to discuss and hopefully pivot into something that makes sense for Galion. But in the meantime, we'll work on defining what the tourism district is, the map, who's in it, and work on all that. Anything else on the special meeting for Thursday night? Okay, if not, we have on the agenda outstanding.
I'll touch base on that, the freeze stuff. I saw that there was a list that was sent on the email, so.
The next thing on our list was the outstanding freeze projects, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think that Councilman Weber had some questions about this, and I didn't get a chance to speak with him before he left town, so I don't have those questions, and I had no specific questions regarding the freeze projects. Does anybody else?
I can kind of update you a little bit, and I guess the neat thing is Nikki's got a picture now, because one of the projects that was on the list from last year was a shelter, an anemic shelter, basically out there at the reservoir, not specifically for the Frisbee people, but it's gonna assist that, and that started construction this week, yesterday, and there's already a partial, she's got some pictures there, so that's moving forward. There was a log cabin plaque that's been ordered. Certainly there was $700,000 over the last 2 years for the depot project. That is well underway, and I had a meeting with the Freeze Foundation, and we're getting ready to get reimbursed for that. Probably the most long-standing project out there is the Pico net, safety nettings out there, and we're trying to work on getting that with $75,000 allocated for that for safety netting out of Pico. East Park field improvements, we've talked about that. That's still under contract. We're still working with it. We're wanting to get that finished, and then we've already started looking at some projects for this year. We've had a few inquiries as well on the freeze this year, so.
Awesome. And I'm sure we'll be talking about those more
Sooner than later.
Coming meetings.
Very soon.
That's nice to see the structure going up out of Ames. I know we get a lot of Frisbee golf. That's not right. It's disc golf, right? It's
disc golf.
Okay, we get a lot of disc golf.
We're planning for it to look like this is the general idea.
That will
That's gonna be fantastic. And you know, I have some stats that I did bring with me tonight that Eric Weber provided for me about the number of disc golfers who come out there, and it's staggering. And they do a really good job of patronizing the sleep in, which in turn creates bed packs for us. So I'm a big fan of what they're doing, and I'm glad that this structure is going up.
We'll just point out, to piggyback on what you said, at one time, course out here was rated one of the top courses in the state. So, I'm not sure where that stands now, but I mean, it wasn't when it first opened.
Well, you're right, Mike, and actually to piggyback off of that, a lot of people may not know this, but Councilman Weber is the person that designed that course and designs them all across the state of Ohio. So we're sitting pretty good with having the guy that builds the courses building ours or designing ours here in Galion. So,
Sure.
anything else on outstanding freeze projects for tonight? Okay, so other business. Do we have any other business?
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Gribble passed out what the pool rates were. I'm gonna hand you guys, I only have a copy, you guys can look at it. Pool rates have not been changed since 2014. And he asked if we wanted to take a look at those. We've done some research for other surrounding areas of pools. Bucyrus Pool is not opening this year is what our understanding is. So this would have to be changed in our fee schedule. But if you look at that, it's very nominal, making a slight increase. I think we spent about $15,000, $20,000 on the pool last year. That was the city's share. Outside of that, this doesn't touch the splash park. The splash park is a city expense. And that's not going to change. Again, you're looking at daily passes going up about $1. Family passes going up very nominal. Out-of-town passes, again, for different things going up nominally, but I think we'll put that together. We were looking at other potential issues in the fee schedule if we wanted to bring them to you, but we need to get that done sooner than later so that so Mr. Gribble and the YMCA can get the schedule up, because they're going to start selling passes here pretty soon.
Yeah, I think when the public sees the new rate structure, it's not a significant increase, and I think it's appropriate considering that they haven't raised rates in a long time.
Right.
With us being Galion now having the only public pool in Crawford County, I anticipate it being very busy this summer.
Just hope the weather stays.
Yeah, so looking forward to it. But we can pass this around and take a look at this. Mr. Richard, did you have something else for other business?
Well, I was going to bring up two is under the umbrella of tourism. And Brian, I haven't asked you about this, is Experience Galion doesn't exist anymore.
Correct.
But you still have those monies coming into that.
Yes.
But I didn't know whether we with that?
Still working,
Okay,
trying to find a suitable person, or not person, but organization that potentially could do it. The fund started the year out at 120,000 plus or minus. And we generate with the Sleep Inn and the Hometown Inn and the Rainbow, the three that routinely pay stuff, roughly 20 to 25,000 a year. We budget like 20,000 to come in. And that's just half of the bed tax. So half the bed tax goes to general fund, half the bed tax goes to the tourism fund. So it's a matter of trying to find somebody to do that and how to allocate and spend those funds. Lots of deciding, lots of interesting things to do, but we need to find somebody to do it. The one thing that I can tell you is that I was guided to not have the city create their own convention and visitor bureau. That it's more work, that it's more headache, and we just don't have the staff to do that. So, but to find somebody, whether it's a 1-year trial with somebody that we shoot $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to them, see if they can't promote the city and or do some other things with it, or it's sitting there just waiting to be used.
I've been in conversations with the mayor really on this topic since January 1st. And, I'm of the opinion that we will find an organization that can administer these funds, but I think it's imperative that we find an organization. We have very limited resources. Everybody knows that, and everybody watching knows that. So we have to stretch these resources as far as we can to promote tourism. It can't just be throwing money at a dartboard, putting out some billboards and some advertising. Personally, I think it needs to be more bricks and mortar type projects and stuff like that anyways. So I think when we do choose an organization, it really needs to be somebody that works hand in hand with the city that is spending that money for the vision that we create moving forward. It needs to be a singular vision and not just putting it out there and taking these limited resources and just having them get spent however. So that's just my opinion on it. But
no, well, and to piggyback on that, is for the folks listening in and watching this later and such, there is criteria required of a person or organization to be able to administer these funds. So if anybody is listening or future listening are interested, by all means contact the mayor's office and they will fill you in.
Yep, that's right. And that's been in discussions, but any other business that we'd like to talk about? We'll adjourn. Okay, so the next meeting will be April 7th, 2026 at 7 p.m. May I get a motion to adjourn?
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Strickler,
Second.
second by Mr. Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed?
7:34.
We're getting better.
Alright, we are live.
All right, we'll go call to order the Laws, Ordinance, Zoning, and Permits Committee.
Oh, streets, alleys, trees.
Well, that one was in front of me. Let's go with the Streets, Alleys, Trees, Bridges Committee. Yeah. All right, now we're on region. Hit rewind, you hit rewind on that thing, right?
Sorry, it was live.
That's all right. All right, starting over here, we're gonna call to order the Streets, Alleys, Trees, and Bridges Committee regular meeting.
Mr. Woodmansey,
Yes, here.
Mr. Gribble,
Here.
and Mr. Watkins.
Here. I'm sure on the back of there is the previous minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
I can make a motion to approve minutes.
I'll second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approval of the agenda as published or amended.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's get into discussion items. We've got the very first one, street paving. Looks like Mr. Ward has provided us with some of the higher ranked streets. Do you want to go over anything specific on this?
We asked Superintendent Andy to put this list together. So these are his estimates and his top priorities. So top is sort of the base list, and then the bottom is other streets to consider in case you want to swap out or add or expand whatever we want to provide the list for you to consider. Our budget was, we budgeted 600. So that number is sort of the base number to start with in your mind.
All right, I do have to ask one question because
Okay.
why do I have two different sheets? I pulled them off the same stack.
You may have gotten my first draft of this
Okay.
staff. Okay.
What are the odds of the one that I hold in my hand was one that I did not look at when I was sitting over there,
Okay,
so.
of course, that's the-
All right, and that's all been, it's been that type of day, how's that? So,
Yeah, it has.
all right, we're back on track here, so, when I glanced at some of these, I mean, obviously, what I do like is when Andy's going out there, he's just not saying, do it all, do it all, do it all, he's hitting intersections that are, when we have a lot of areas like that where they just get beat up from being under the trees or whatever it may be. One of the things I seen was the Pier Street for under the overpass, 33 by 75. Is that just one of the big parking, we'll call parking areas, is just crumbling, or what is that
I
one?
think there's a sort of a weird intersection over there. In my mind,
Okay,
that's what I think it is.
okay.
Is there's a really bad chunk over there. I don't think it's under the actual overpass. It's right next to it.
So, in your mind, at what point would you like this finalized and to be able to put out? Because I know that was one of the very first things that we discussed is let's roll with it. Let's instead of being last, let's be first, right?
The sooner the better, but it's a lot to consider because, you look at this and you think, in my mind, and Market Street is falling apart. It is absolutely falling apart. Cherry Street, falling apart. So it's hard to really look at this list and say, do we stick with what's at the top? Do we consider expanding? Do we take some off the top and substitute out? Because it's some of these, especially Market, with it being a main north-south thoroughfare, that one has to be addressed.
Are we just talking north or all three sections there for Market?
It's down at the bottom.
All three sections are.
Taking
All three
from
sections are
the
terrible.
Boston Point
I think, yeah,
all the way to,
Church,
no,
if you did it all.
we did it all, but all three of those sections are
Which-
terrible. But he broke it down in case we wanted to sort of piecemeal it. So this year we wanted to do one
the next year's go
section.
past church, we go down the Walker.
So
Walker.
was his overall recommendation what we have here and not mark it though?
No, we went to him and said, give us your list. And then, as we sat and talked and sort of talked about, these streets are terrible too, and he's like, yeah, I could keep going and add, another list this size of terrible streets. So I think as we went through the discussions, like, I'll give you a few more to consider. Because I think your input is also why it's here on the table. Because again, looking at, where I'm over in my neck of the woods, like Jefferson from Isaac Park Lane to the bridge, maybe you don't think that's a high priority, and we could shuffle that out for.
I was already thinking that until I looked at the dollar amount, I was like, well, that doesn't really help us out a lot, but I see what you're saying, yes, you can,
Like,
there's no houses involved, it's
yeah,
a couple parking spots and then they're there, but
so it's, in your mind, if there's a higher priority that this one can wait a couple of years and we should really address this street this year because I know this is a heavily traveled street. That's, I think, why we bring it to you for your input.
one of the things that we do have to take in consideration is the amount of traffic and how heavy the traffic is. When I say heavy, the weight, asphalt is a pretty top layer, but in reality, once that water penetrates and that base becomes jello, we're done. We're down to a South Street issue, right? And most people just see asphalt. They don't know how a road's built. They don't know what it consists of. Andy, obviously Andy and myself, we know where that stuff and what it takes to, once you get to a certain point, there's no going back. There's no more just patching a pothole. So we do need to take that in consideration when we look at some of these roads that Andy is saying, hey, it's in bad shape. At what point, with the amount of traffic that some of these get, that ultimately, I would say that would be something good for you guys maybe, or maybe even Andy to say, this is heavily traveled with, we get some semi-traffic and stuff like that, because it does make a huge difference. And if it's not heavily trafficked with semis or heavy vehicles, you may be able to get an extra year out of it before you do that, versus when it gets not as much traffic, but the semi-traffic is beating it up. Once that water penetrates, we're done, and now we're going to be in a lot bigger expense that we don't want to put ourselves in. So.
From my perspective, I don't have any changes that I want to make, just simply because, one, I realize like a North Market section that's 178,000, I have to pick probably 5 or 6 streets to take out to do that. So I don't know the streets as well as the street department knows the streets. And I don't want to slow anything down. So respect everybody else's input, but I have none. I just want to go with what's being recommended.
Yeah, honestly, Nikki, I'm kind of in the same boat. We've got to trust Andy and you and that other report that's out there, because I don't see myself taking the time to go drive every one of these streets and compare Andy's notes. I'm just not, I've got to assume that he's making the right decision for the city. And with that being said, if you've got to trim some here and there, or if you're saying, hey, there are certain sections I know in the past we have done where maybe we had to do a strip just to buy us another year. And that's maybe an option for some here and there.
And we will do a secondary spot paving program where if we have, say there's, 30 feet of one lane that's just gone, we'll do some spot paving and repair all of the utility cuts and that kind of thing. We will be doing those as usual.
Yeah,
But
I get it.
And I think we understand that, like, Nikki, if your office or Andy's office makes changes to this, then that's great because you're the ones that have a good handle on this. But I agree with Josh 100%. I'm not out here looking at the streets like you are. For me to choose something would probably be a form of favoritism, so I trust your judgment.
Yeah, I would love to be the first on that list.
Right?
That'd be awesome.
You'll be second, because Jefferson from Harding Way.
No, not me. I'm talking,
not me.
the city of Galion to be first on the paving list.
Oh, I thought you meant
Instead
your
of-
street. And I was like,
No, you don't even have to pave mine, I don't even care.
No, mine either.
Go back to dirt, it'd be easier.
Yeah.
So one thing to take into
We'll shift the seal
consideration,
yours, Josh,
Perfect.
right after mine.
if we stuck with the 712, or if you just rounded to 720 or whatever, we're still gonna have to appropriate some funds. We budgeted 600. Now, if you, in perspective, last year, we budgeted 700, and we bumped it almost an additional $300,000 in paving.
Okay.
So with that being said, do you feel that maybe we should
I think.
trim a little bit, or?
No, I'm not saying necessarily, I think that's a decision the council needs to make. We can weigh the entirety of this. I mean, these are Andy's best guesses. Some might come in a little bit less, some might come in a little bit more.
Oh, so these aren't exact figures?
No.
These are his estimates, and we don't know what the price of asphalt's gonna be
Yeah.
this year.
So,
This is a guess.
you know, you would theoretically put this out to bid, and then we'd see what it comes in. So we bid it, we come up with a number, say it's 725,000 plus a 10 with 15% contingency. We get a bid, it comes in at 750. Now we gotta come back to council, go, there, 150,000. Do you want to do that or not?
There's probably no way of getting around that.
Or the option is
So-
to non-perform.
Not perform some of this job, so.
Okay. So I'm in favor of moving this to full council as it is and addressing those concerns as they arise.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if you want to do those top two on the other streets, to consider that, take out everything in the first ward and fourth ward. It's almost $8 for dollar. We want to
Yeah.
eliminate 10 streets to do two.
Yeah, you're right.
So I recommend the same.
So do we need a motion to move this to council?
Well, I don't have the ordinance, so we'll have to vote it onto the agenda, but
Okay.
you guys can,
So,
yeah, I
let's-
got this.
Let's get it in ordinance.
Yeah, that's easy to do, so I'll have it prepared for, next council meeting.
Well, Josh, you're the only one that knows anything about street construction, so.
Not really. I mean, anybody knows. The key thing is, not only is it a little bit embarrassing, but it puts us in a bad spot when the weather turned like it did this year on us. That quick, that snap, we were fortunate that they were even willing to come out and do what they did. They could have just washed their hands of sealing up the edges of that asphalt, which means then the water penetrates underneath that brand new asphalt all winter.
Okay.
At that point, we could have went out there and just scooped it up and thrown it in 5-gallon buckets, because it would have been no good. And my other thing about the base is, we witnessed what happened in South Street, and that cost us a heck of a lot of money. And that is because the heavy trucks, it wasn't designed for that amount of traffic. Once that water breaks through, if we don't maintain it, once that dirt and the sub base turns to jello, it doesn't dry out underneath there, we're done. So,
Based upon what Josh has said, I'd love to get this to council, get it through as quickly as possible so Nikki and Andy can get these streets done maybe faster than ever before.
yeah. And once again, like you said, asphalt went up significantly more than what we expected. We gotta trim some. We'll make those trimmings and go from there. Yes, sir.
Just the one thing going through my head right now with that, I know asphalt's connected to petroleum, and I know is it better get it rolling, but for the bidding process, I don't know. If we're trying it this week, it might be a lot more fluctuated, a lot more, might be spiked temporarily, I don't know.
But I mean, how long would it be?
Say we pass this next Tuesday at council, I won't be able to advertise until the 18th and the 25th, and then I have to wait probably another week. So I'm gonna say April 3rd at least before I can open bids.
So we're moving.
Yeah, I mean,
We're trucking.
and I understand what you're saying 100%. Now, with those bids, let me ask you this, Nikki, because obviously I'm not in the bidding world for asphalt, but when those bids come in, what is that variant. I mean, the bid's a bid, this is what you came in at, and they've obviously bid their numbers to protect themselves, but
Yeah, and when we've had ODOT projects, we'll get change orders from them saying, you know, the cost of fuel or cost of product is, but locally speaking, our vendors have typically been, but we're lucky, saying if Bucyrus Road Materials gets it, they have their own asphalt mix, they have a little bit more control over some aspects of it.
yeah, and like when they purchased it, what was their cost versus today's cost, so yeah,
But
so.
Isn't there a contingency too, it's gotta come in with within a certain percentage?
yeah,
of the bid?
their bid has to come in within 10% of our,
So if we estimate
Estimated,
725 with all these streets that comes back in at 830, and that's the lowest and best bid, then we don't accept any bids, and we come back to council and we pare down this list, we send it back out.
Perfect. So basically what you just told me is we have an insurance plan in place and I'm good with that. I would say, yeah, I say,
But there's a political decision to be made. I just see a short-term business thing that I thought was.
yeah, no, I agree, but with her saying how far out it's gonna be, and I think, you know, the asphalt world, unfortunately, they're used to playing the game here lately with petroleum, so, he's made that motion, you second that. All in favor to send that on to full council? Yeah, aye. Aye. Opposed? Perfect. Okay, looks like this next section coming up, I believe you handed this out, Brian.
So there's, the first one, the parking more than 24 hours, is my little pet, but the right of way, I think we're gonna pause on, because I couldn't get with the chief on the correct language that he's looking at. For the tree lawn I got in front of you, there's proposed changes. So we'll start with the parking. The 24-hour parking ordinance was established in 1951. Do I need to say that again? Here's the
It's
issue.
current.
Here's the issue. And it's been my issue for a long time, and I was told not to mess with it, and now I'm going to. If you have a relative that comes and spends the weekend with you, and they park on the street on Friday afternoon, on Saturday afternoon, they're technically in violation of the parking law. Because you brought them into town, and you're gonna take care of them, and you're gonna do all the driving and all that stuff, and they're not gonna leave until Sunday or Monday. 72 hours seems reasonable, 3 days. Not 24 hours that you have to move your vehicle. That's the only change. You're changing it from the last part of that sentence. The operator of a vehicle shall not park a vehicle on any public street or alley in the city for a continuous time longer than 24 hours, and we're changing that to 72 hours. It sounds reasonable. It's for those that have off-street, that don't have off-street parking, but they have to park on the street. When I had 2 kids living at home and they both had a car, we had cars parked across from my house constantly.
No, we're living in a world where there's people that may only go in the office 2 days a week.
So I think 72 hours is reasonable. We've talked, Nikki and I have talked about this. This just makes more sense to clean this up.
I agree.
Yeah. No objection here?
Done? Love it.
Yep, it's a good choice.
So with that being said, when
We can do an ordinance to change.
we gotta change each one, right? Because they're
That would
all
be-
under, they have their own little ordinance.
I think we could do one ordinance to changing both. We have to do an ordinance to change each one of them.
And it's just,
If
This
one-
is,
it's just the 35114.
right now, that's the proposal to change 35114.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get that to ordinance.
Sure. The second one, I think it's a typo on the agenda, but it's the tree lawn, which is actually section 301.45. And this came from Chief Strange, and this is to help him with parking issues, and it deals with the tree lawn, and it's nothing more than cleaning up the language, because the current language states that a tree lawn or street lawn area means that any area lying between the curb and the street right away, i.e. the sidewalk where one exists, and to the end of the right of way where no sidewalk exists, and people get hung up on the curb, and there's no curb, and where can I park, where can I park? And this is just changing it to state that the tree lawn or street lawn means the portion of the public right of way located between the edge of the traveled roadway and the right of way line, which is the easement that the city has for the street about 8 foot back. That's regardless if there's a curb or sidewalk. So you can't park with it. That's the tree lawn area, and if you were parking in that, then it would be a violation. It's just making it a little bit more simple to.
So somebody can't come in and say, well, I don't have a curb.
Well, yeah, so they get a parking ticket and what says from the curb, there's no curb here, so where do you know that is? So you're just basically saying from the edge of the street, whether there's a curb or not, back to the end of the right of way, if there's a sidewalk or not. Typically it's where the sidewalk is, but sometimes it's even further in. And you're just cleaning that up.
Done, simple.
Yeah.
So
And,
what are
you
you
know-
changing that to the curb or edge of street, or just edge of street?
Did I give you the language there?
No, I have the ones I printed and put in their package, and I was given the right of way as well. so.
Yeah, and I haven't figured out the language for that, so.
Oh, okay.
I changed, there's the current and proposed.
Okay. Yeah, I put the other one in there because I thought you sent me that one too.
I did,
Okay.
and I tried to figure out the right of, the right of way thing, and Mr. Mayor, the one thing I was concerned with the right of way is it reflects the Ohio Revised Code, and he wanted to tweak it. And again, it's cleaning up some language, and I could not get the definition from him how I wanted it, and I didn't know. I know we can make local ordinance more restrictive than the Ohio Revised Code, but not less restrictive than the Ohio Revised Code.
They're not in conflict with the general laws, and
Correct.
basically.
So we will come back to that one. He wasn't overly concerned with that, but I will try to work with him and Mr. Bear to see if that in fact can happen, and if it is, what the exact language we're looking at, so that we don't.
That'd probably go into Title 45 and look at what,
Yep, it is. Yep, 100%.
not saying we can't modify, but by default would be look at the revised code definition and
Yep.
start there.
Yep.
Well, like you said, if it's just cleaning stuff up for easier ways to keep track of things and making it easier to identify what we're actually discussing. And obviously, an ordinance from 1951, I guess we could revisit it. Yeah, so you made the motion to move those on to, okay. Do we need a motion then?
No, because we'll have to vote the
I just
ordinances on
wanted
here.
He just wanted to do it. He just
You'll
wanted
have to vote them on.
Yeah.
There is no ordinance on that.
Okay.
It's garbage stuff.
So, with that being said, let's have any other business here.
Oh, I had one, and I didn't bring the notes, I brought it to the last meeting. I had 3 phone calls on the light at Grant Road and 598. 3 different phone calls, concerns with people who live out there with the light itself. I do know that one of them talked about, is there a time at night that it can be a flashing light, because they said they're having a hard time turning off Grant onto 598. Another one said that the turn lane, something about the light doesn't switch as it should, and only with cars zooming by, you can only get one turn before they lose the turn signal. So I don't know. Apologize that I didn't bring the stuff with me. I had really good notes on it that I brought to full council. Didn't bring those notes tonight, but I'll bring them next time.
I can tell you that light, similarly to the light at Heisey Park, coming off of Heisey Park Lane, coming from the west to the east, has been looked at numerous times. We can look at it and see if there's any issues, but I mean, that was kind of set up by ODOT when they set
The
up.
detector does get dirty from time to time, and that affects the turn signal, because that has an automatic detector on it. As far as the flashing is concerned,
No,
because of the line of sight and all of that,
cannot do.
that light is never going to be set to flashing. It's already an area where we have.
Oh, I know, the third phone call I had said that, I believe it was the turn signal, that people were just going through it on red because it was not turning. And they were
I
just,
can ask
Well,
if they check the because it has a lens on it, but it gets dirty and they clean the lens and then it starts detecting cars again. So I can ask, they check that.
I'm looking at it.
I know I use it quite often and I haven't noticed a problem when coming from the west going east. That turns into, I don't know. Hardly ever come from the other direction though, so.
But I
don't know
do
what's
on an extremely regular basis, and I haven't noticed any problems, and I'll go and I'll come at it from the other end and both turn left and right.
true. Yeah.
I honestly, I catch it at all random times. I'm not gonna say that maybe it hasn't been messed up. The only thing I will tell you at 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm the only one there and I'm trying to make a left to run in and grab a coffee, I get a little upset, but I can tolerate it. Unfortunately, we have had too many accidents out there to mess with that light. If it's not working, right, I get that, but to make another change to that light, I do not think would be good for anyone.
Well, and all 3 phone calls did express how much they appreciated the light. It had been a great thing, but I think they were basically saying what Nikki was, that it was malfunctioning, which is probably because of that sensor.
Well, and it could have rained since then and cleaned it off, so.
And it's been, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 months since they've been out there and messed with it. So it's possible it's dirty
Might be ready for a
It's
clean.
possible.
Nikki will check in tomorrow in spare time.
But,
Nice work, you.
Or Jerry.
Baldwin Sowers come look at
Yeah.
that, how many times,
Yeah.
and there's
It's
nothing
been
wrong.
adjusted.
Do we as a city maintain that? Is ODOT help out with that? No, okay, that's
We
the
do.
city.
But again, Baldwin Towers is the group that it's put it in, and they, whether it's Heisey Parker or
Oh.
Brant Road and stuff is,
So that one's a little more technologically advanced than the ones with the gears over here.
What are you saying, Nikki?
Claim we didn't have the
1951.
Oh,
that one has a computer that you actually have to hook up to it, and it's really complex, so we don't mess with it, we just call Baldwin Sowers, and they've detected nothing wrong with the computerized portion of it, so we'll check the less technical aspect and go like the lens.
okay, great. For other business, I have one thing I want to bring up. We don't need to have a long discussion about it, but something maybe that's either been brought up to the city already, mayor's office, up to Nikki. But we have gotten, society in general everybody's got to have 2 cars, right? Maybe 3 for some. And the amount of parking has not increased for anyone. No, I'm not saying the city needs to provide parking for everyone, but what we do need to do is try to find a way to enforce where these people park. Now, with that being said, the Heisey Park, or not the Heisey Park, I'm sorry, the old high school in front of there, where the buses used to pull up, that has become a city parking lot.
Mhm.
And when I say that, the vehicles haven't moved since, I can't tell you. Am I singling just them people out? Nope. But what I am telling you is when I watched a kid ride his bike the other day and he was riding up the sidewalk, and when he got to where the sidewalk gets really large in front of the old high school, he had to go out in the road. At that point, like something obviously is not right with that picture. So this was a kid that should not have been riding in the street. He was that young. So I have an issue with stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not going to say we're going to drive around this entire city and single out all these cars, but we have to figure something out or enforce our own rules or laws, whatever we got to do. Because that is a little over the top when I see something like that. So. With nothing in other business, next meeting is April 7th, 7 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
8:05.
Good job, Josh.
All right, that one's done.
Well, I even have sound, so.
All right, call to order at 8:08, Laws and Ordinance Zoning and Permits Committee, regular meeting. Date is March 3rd, 2026. And your roll call, please.
Mr. Strickler,
Here.
Mr. Gribble,
Here.
Mr. Woodmansey.
Here.
Has everybody reviewed the minutes from February 3rd, 2026? Make a motion to.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Gribble seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Woodmansey approved, or,
Motion.
makes a motion to approve, and Mr. Wolf seconds that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? All right. So we have the discussion of design review. We have three things to talk about tonight, which is amending the number of board members. I think we had a discussion of from 9 to 5 members, 9 members to 5 members. The appointment of Mr. Rick Maddox and the appointment of Amy Wolf. So we want to get to those. A few things about going from 9 to 5 is we have the board, how the ordinance stands now, we have certain stipulations of whether they're business owners or building owners, if they live within the district or not. And that's the only thing. Are we still thinking the one from council, one from BZA, and then what's the other? Are we going to do one from uptown who owns a building or owns a business? And two, I think the last two should be anyone that was within the city of Galion.
I think,
I think the whole town's got to say how this is going to look.
I would agree with that, and
And that would just be,
I do have one question, about the one you just said, one from the BZA. Is that what you said?
isn't there one from the BZA?
Yeah, it's
So-
still in there, yeah.
I have a question on that because is that is the same board that basically if we take the design review denies something, then it goes to that group, right?
Correct.
So they're telling you no, then you're gonna give them, I have, that one's a touchy.
It's almost a conflict of interest.
Yeah, really it is. I don't think that you can have that.
I know where you guys struggle, I won't say you can't have that, but the current structure is allowed. Is it what you want is a different question.
Yeah, that's easy to strike off of this ordinance.
Correct, we kept that, frankly, we kept it similar to what you previously had.
Yeah.
Tried to get you something that modified it. Frankly, this was in the grand discussion of changing everything about design review, this is the thing that got it mechanically working faster.
Mhm.
And rather than, you guys can pick what you want to do, had to get you a draft. But this was the thing that I thought would get the current, everything everybody's thinking, will get the current design review moving faster, while you
Yeah.
make the bigger changes.
On page 5, you can see I changed it by listening to what Matt had said and stuff, so that could be tweaked. I put the members shall be owners of property within either of these districts, owners of business located within these districts, or a resident of the city of Galion. That's how I thought he had kind of said you could be any one of those, so that's what I put in there, but that's just,
Since
that's
we're
here
lowering
to
the
be
number, we
changed.
don't
Yeah.
want to get so narrow on any one
Right,
seat.
Absolutely.
right, so.
So
and
yes,
then-
you could in theory get to a point where it's random city members who are not connected directly. I just don't think in practice that will happen. We'll use
Right,
a little
yeah.
common sense, but
Yeah.
needing someone so narrow when you're struggling to find people. I mean, like I said, I'll admit this language basically means either you're a resident of the city or you own a business in design review,
Right.
making the first one almost superfluous, but I think it emphasizes the point.
Yeah.
You'd like people who live there, own businesses there, and barring that,
Yeah.
people from the city.
Right,
Right.
absolutely.
And
So
will-
I think that, at least theory, keeps it from being completely superfluous.
And I will let you know that this ordinance also deletes the design review 3, which is the one from Jefferson to,
Right.
yeah, so.
But it also keeps,
And it keeps 1 and 2.
It keeps us, basically, the design review district now is from the depot Jefferson Street.
Yeah.
Right.
So Jefferson Street West, very little
It was just businesses anyway.
historical and or it's, business and stuff. And it's, that board has not been intact since 2022 or 2023.
Yeah, I don't think they've met at all, so.
So,
All right, so with what was presented in front of us, that was in order for us, right? Correct me if I'm wrong here. We have something presented in front of us right now that we can establish a new board, right? You have, or you can appoint some to the new,
parameters of the board from 9 to 5.
okay?
It would keep this, it would take the board, yeah, like I said, I
It
think
doesn't
that's that.
change anything else with the ordinance.
And right now, we're doing that so that we can move forward with the application that is sitting on your.
Right, we're basically amending 1311.04.
Okay,
Mhm.
And that's,
yes.
If I can weigh in, maybe there was a reason when this was designed with 9 members that somebody from the BZA was on there. I think taking it to 5 and eliminating one additional stakeholder is a mistake. And so I would suggest that you eliminate the BZA member from that for a couple of reasons. Number one, for the conflict protects their interest. And then the second is that you are allowed, that enables us to get another stakeholder on the board.
okay.
So it's, so it's, now you've got 2 members at 1 year, 2 members at 2 years, 1 member at 3 years, but at least there's members of the community that have a vested interest in that. And that takes that 1 of 5 votes, if you will, then all of a sudden goes to BZA, and you kind of already know where that person's sitting with that. And it's, as Mr. Barron kind of chuckled with, it's the appellate court sitting on the municipal court bench to make a decision, and then go in and make a decision again. It's judge and jury, if you will. And I think by limiting the number of people there, allowing it to be just members of the community that are on the board, making the decision so that when it gets to BZA, you have an independent board that is looking at, did you follow the rules? And did the design review follow the rules? And did they make a sound judgment based on the guidelines and restrictions that are there? And make that decision.
And ultimately, the goal would be that the BZA never meets in a perfect world.
Correct.
That, if the design review board is flowing and everybody's
I think
adhering to everything.
The ultimate goal here is to get this written so that it is flexible and reasonable to deal with, and that if somebody gets a no from BZA or from the design review, that there has to be some extreme circumstances that the BZA would approve it.
Really gonna have to sell yourself to make that go through. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Were the rules followed? Did you fit within the parameters? If the answer was no, please tell us what specific is not there that you need that change. Again, making it harder to get through the appellate court as opposed to easier to get through the appellate court.
No, I agree with 100% with that. So, with that being said,
Send this to council.
I think you.
do we need to amend
I
the
think
one
the
with the
decision, if you want to leave the BZA on that and not.
I think we take the BZA out.
I say.
And I like the idea of the second stakeholder,
Yeah.
at least 2 from uptown. Building owner, business owner, whatever.
Yeah.
But even if the business owner doesn't live within city limits.
Yeah.
Since this is still in committee, you can amend it all you want, and then
Yeah,
just
I
send it
see.
out amended. You
And
don't
then
have
just
to amend each.
to anybody who lives in Galion, honestly, like.
I'd like that
that's fine,
because-
there's a couple other people, well, because I think the whole town should have kind of a say and.
You would certainly hope that you try to recruit stakeholders.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Maddox is a stakeholder, Miss Amy Wolf is a stakeholder, Mr.
Correct.
Kimball is a stakeholder, or is related to his preference. I mean,
Yes.
so you've already got 3 on there.
Right. So,
Mr. Brown takes care of the council members, so
yeah.
it consists of 5 members, of which 1 is a council member, and leave it.
The other 4.
Yeah.
The other 4 they have to fit within the parameters. They're
Just-
either
just
a
the way
resident or a business owner. And you would certainly hope that we try to keep them within that district, but doesn't mean that you can't,
Right.
you know? I mean, again, it falls into the struggle to get people that want to volunteer to be right time.
But if you open it up to the whole community, then we have.
Potentially,
Well, like I said, everyone I think has a vested interest in watching our town grow and flourish, so I don't think that's, you know.
And one of the things I want to say to that is I feel that since I said the little bit of discussion we had, that's been a hell of a lot, but the discussion that we have had has made some of these people that just took a back seat because they're like, I'm done, I'm not dealing with it. And now they're kind of going, all right, if you guys are willing to move forward with us and help make the changes, maybe we will get back on board. But we still have to be careful on, you know, there's always a line, right? I mean, we got to make sure we stay on the right side of that. So I like it. So I say yes, sir.
Hey, I just want to ask Michael one question, is on page 4, it talks about all terms shall begin January 1 of the applicable year. Appointed members shall be subject to removal for cause by the mayor. I understand that point. Does that mean that the term is automatically renewed after 3 years, or it's got to be appointed and because your term is ended and maybe there isn't just cause, but just because I don't want you to sit on the board anymore, that doesn't get reappointed?
But I think you could appoint someone else for the new term. Usually a lot of these boards, I have to look into exactly, usually like holdovers tend to hold until the new person's there.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
It's usually the way I see it. I think I looked it up, and it was something like, I think I was reading something when I was looking through appointing offices, like, sometimes if you get, like if you had a general election, one of the electeds got beat, but then literally the person who was supposed to take over the office became ineligible or died or something, that person would continue, the person who lost the election would continue to hold the office until someone new could be appointed. There's something like that that I remember reading.
Okay.
So with that being said, we want to amend it so that we can remove
Everything after council in that first paragraph on page 5, and it says,
Basically, it's the last, and one member of the same board shall also be a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals is the one thing you said you wanted to remove.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And
yeah.
then.
and are you okay with
You guys are
the,
happy with the rest of it?
if you're okay with the members shall be owners of property with any of these, either of these are owners of business or a
Yeah.
resident of the city of Galion, so that, I mean, that opens up to everybody,
It
so,
does.
So
And then it would be up to his discretion to
yeah.
make recommendations.
I mean, it doesn't say how many of
Recommendation
this,
is
so-
ultimately your decision whether you appoint them or not.
right, yeah, so if you,
Yeah. So, well, obviously, we want to move that on to full council.
Yes, we'll send that to full council. Yep.
And then,
okay,
with that being said, obviously, we have, yes, right.
Motion to send that before you go to the next.
yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, can I make a motion?
You wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to send that to the full council.
Okay.
I'll second.
And Mr. Gerber seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Same time.
Okay.
All right, send it to council. Next is the appointment of Rick Maddox.
If you read that, Mr. Max's term technically expired on December 31st, 2024. This is just reappointing him to that position, but starting his term further. So if you actually looked at the guidelines that were there, 2 and 1 year, 2 and 2 years, 1 and 3 years, this is gonna fit the 2-year term. Mr. Gimbel automatically falls into the 1-year term because his term expires at the end of 26.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you look at the next one, I've appointed her to a 3-year term, so now we just gotta do a 30. We just gotta fill the other ones.
well, then,
Well,
Brown would be a 2-year,
Yeah, he's,
fits
yeah,
into a 2-year term because of his,
yeah.
because
So
of
we need
being on
to-
council. Yeah, so that works out
We need
perfect.
a 1 year, we need somebody for a 1 year.
No, you already got a 1 year, I think.
No, we need 2 for a 1 year, 2 for a 2 year,
Oh,
and 1
okay.
for a 3 year.
And we can change that if you want it different.
I don't think you'll have any issues, probably by the end of the week, having somebody make a phone call to your office and want to be a part of that board thing. Unless you have somebody else in mind, but I don't have someone, but I can
I
promise you.
had someone suggest to me, which I'll give you a name.
And that's fair enough, and what happens now, if you pass these 2, you'll have 4 members, which constitutes a quorum, and we can set up to have that other.
And they can take care of what's on the
Yep.
table
Yep.
right now. I think that's great, so
Yep.
good, we're gonna send this there. To the
Yes, so the only question I have, and it's almost just I don't even know why I care question. You know, it came of this little brain of mine. And Mr. Maddox showed interest again, and what made him show interest again? Did he actually step away for any period of time?
No, he hasn't
No.
stepped away.
Okay,
I can
okay.
tell you, I've had 2 meetings in my office with him discussing this process, and specifically the second time, that change is coming, do you want to be a part of it? And he said yes.
Okay, perfect. That's all.
Yeah.
That literally.
He's
That's
been
all.
on it since the inception, and he has a vested interest in that, and as the president.
Did he show his frustration with some of the stuff that he's dealt with in the past as well?
Yes, and he served all of 2025 without being reappointed.
Yeah. Perfect. Good enough.
No, he's fantastic.
I guess the
Yeah.
simple answer to that question is he's looking forward to change.
Love,
A lot of people are.
love it.
Yeah.
Nothing bad. Nothing bad about that.
So-
You hear anything
So
bad
I want
about
to make
that?
a motion to send
Just
a
take and do what
second
you do.
appointment of Rick Maddox to
I'll make a
council.
motion.
All right,
I'll second.
second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. All right. Next is the appointment of Amy Wolf for the 3-year term.
I've had conversation, I had a long conversation in the office today with Amy. I know that Mayor O'Leary had intentions to appoint her even before. I don't know where that fell through. But she shows interest in being, while she's not a resident, she is certainly a business owner here in town and has a lot of interest in being on the board and wants to see things move.
I don't know about, I know Matt and myself, I frequent the store quite often. Terry, I'm not sure if you've been up there, but it's definitely a great conversation with her and Rick when you go in there about some of the changes that need to be, that could be, and hopefully are coming. And I think this shows right here that she's willing to jump on board with this. So with that being said, I'll make a motion.
Make a motion, you second, send Amy?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. On the other business, anyone have anything?
I think for other business, I know the design and review thing is not going to go away anytime soon. We all know that. We're making steps to move it forward. I think that shows. Hopefully, this eases things on your end, Brian, to keep things moving forward as they come in. So I would say we continue on this path of the general discussion moving forward.
I think by April, I have some stuff I'm working on. I'm dissecting section by section there is a lot that's outdated.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like making some suggestive changes right now, but I've been working on that.
Yeah.
A lot. honestly.
I think the more
Hack
we-
this thing up, but
The more we all dig into it, Matt, I think what we're finding is this isn't going to be changed overnight.
no, this is going to take some time. And I think, like I said, when we talked about when this could be done, I'm honest, when I said June, July, that's probably the reality of this being completely changed. I think if I can bring something by the committee for April, which would have a substantial amount of changes, and we could kind of hash those out. These aren't drastic changes. They're minimal things. There's some wording in the ordinance that really I found kind of frustrating, saying that like the economic realm wasn't their concern, which I think that should be placed above all, obviously, because the money's gone. A lot of the heavy hitters in this town aren't here anymore, so I think it needs to be something that design review considers in their decision-making process, and the time that they have allotted to approve or deny in that process. I'm kind of focused on that more than anything else.
I'm still trying to get somebody from the historical preservation office to come up and have a conversation to see the bigger picture,
Absolutely.
their role, or how our role fits into their parameters.
Right.
So,
Is it just hard to get, like, hard to set something up, or?
yes.
Okay, just say yeah, perfect.
Um,
Love it.
So,
Yeah,
I guess, first off, I'd point, the things we've gone through tonight, I think are a little bit different than the grant scheme. So this is the kind of thing, you're moving the current board can't have a meeting, You're trying to get it both lower the threshold of the number of people there
Yes.
and get people on so you can actually hold a meeting with the rules as they are and get things moving. So versus where I've said, when you make the grand scheme changes, I think that should happen. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I do think that procedure should be 3 meetings, community input, and you're seeing all the things you're hashing out. There's so many, this is part of my challenge in presenting you options, because you notice as you get into it, there are so many possible options. I'm not even trying to attempt to tell you what you do on any one piece, but I can't guess all the pieces that you want.
Right.
If you guys decide, and I've heard some proposals of take the guidelines, take a bunch of the ordinance pieces that you want to keep, and just put them in the guidelines, making the codified ordinance version much shorter. Hey, you have this board, here's the people, and all these rules that either are guidelines and ordinances, putting them in the guidelines. If you want to do that, that's fine, but it takes time to hash out how you merge them.
Right, yeah.
Versus this, I think if you go through and say, we now have 5 members, and if you approve these 2 appointments, you've got 4 members on the board out of 5, and you can move. These are the things that I do think you could suspend the rules, and it's not radically changing the rules, it's getting things mechanically working. So I do qualify that. I don't think it's contradictory. I think it's explaining the small changes that get it moving versus the big changes. I think you could move it through and get it past the next council meeting.
Perfect.
Yeah. Go ahead. What do you think the next, in your opinion, so this is the establishment of the design review board.
Yeah.
What about, are we gonna take control of the guidelines and codify those in an ordinance instead of allowing the design review board to make their own guidelines, and then the ordinance then contradicts their guide, because that was their issue, I think. That was a big fight, and I think Pastor Maddox tried to explain that they kind of contradicted each other, which made it difficult to reach a decision.
I would offer that if we get this done and we get a design review board meeting set up for the application that we have, that 1 or 2 of the members from this committee, not all 3 because it becomes an issue,
Right.
but 1 or 2 of the members come to the committee and have that open discussion with the sitting members. So, because we really haven't had Mr. Gimbel to speak with.
My problem, I'm going to qualify that it probably should only be 1, because if 2/3 of them are hearing it, then you've got the meeting.
Okay.
So it would actually only be 1. They would need to come to this kind of a meeting.
Yeah, this is the direction where we're going, because I know that in the conversation with Amy today, she likes the idea of design review hanging on to the guidelines and regulations.
She told me the same thing, but I find that to contradict, that makes things difficult.
And I explained to her the parameters of why. If we set it up that here's the ordinance, here's the guidelines, go enforce it.
Right.
Or go guide it, and then, so your hands are not, all you have to do is read through the stuff. Does it fit this? Yep, sure does.
Right.
Or nope, you can't do this. You can go, we like what you're wanting to do up here, but this isn't gonna fit, but if you tweak it right here, you can work it, and it will work.
Absolutely.
So, I think communicating with them the direction of what you as in council are looking at to get their buy-in to that.
Okay.
I think that might be a safe way to go about, because that's the one reason I want OHPO up here is how restrictive or how tight can we change the guidelines and regulations and still allow us to be a certified local government within that. If it becomes, you have to be here and you go, nah, then do we take a look at and go, okay, we still have a design review board, we still have our own regulations, but we're not a certified local government, or can we get those, can they live with what the guidelines that we're trying to restrict them down into, or make them more user-friendly, and they're like, okay, we can live with this, and we all take a deep breath and move on.
Right, absolutely.
So, and I'm sorry if I'm getting repetitive, but I know this is why the guidelines, I think, are one of those mechanical questions I think council really has to decide. I'll go with 3 of the easier options. 1, you just let design review continue to write their own stuff, at which point I would keep the portions of the ordinances you want, and then the guidelines kind of come under that. they make what they want, but you're not really involved, which I know people have been frustrated. You have a second option where you take the guidelines back for yourself, council writes them, but that means if design review has real tweaks over the future, you guys are always going to be responsible for getting them, modifying them. You should listen to some of the design review people. Probably, if you're doing it that way, you should probably have some of them coming to the meetings. You're in an open meeting, you're hearing from them, so it's not the public would know all of this. And that means down the road, if council isn't so interested, you're going to have design review people coming in saying they need a change and trying to convince at least the current committee to get it to council. For those who are the most frustrated in the short term, I think there are those who'd be happier to see council do it, but that's the way I drafted it up in that one was you take the guidelines, the current guidelines stay in effect until you get new ones. So you could do it all at the same time, or you could change the ordinance to trim it down and then go into the guidelines second. But that's an option. There is the middle path of letting them do the first draft of the guidelines, sending it to you guys. Mr. Mr. Weber's proposal went through that. The one thing I would do slightly different, I would want clear language. If you're going to have design review proposed guidelines and then you approve, I would still give council some ability to alter or amend. It's not just an up or down vote saying, hey, if we don't like this, redraw what we want and back and forth forever. I think once they send it to you, you guys should be able to make the final decision of changes if you're going to go through that method.
Right.
That, hey, I really don't want this. Because you get that problem. I would say we've had cases where, like the redistricting cases, where you had a liberal majority on the Supreme Court who didn't like any of the redistricting plans, and they kept saying, we can't redraw the maps, but we're going to disapprove them until you draw the one we want. That's a problem. So I think you need some ability to actually, you're a legislative body as well. If it comes to you and you want to change 3 lines, make sure you have the power for the 3 lines.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking along the lines of, I'm not opposed to design review making suggestions to council. Here's what we would like to see because we think this would make it work. And then council takes that and we put it in the ordinance and council then controls the guidelines. I think that's probably the safest bet. Now there's 2 sets of eyes. There's not a favorable party of just making rules for themselves. Now you have the legislators that have a little bit of say in that.
It might be really interesting to hear Mr. Gimbel and Mr. Maddox's opinion on what worked and what didn't.
Right. Yeah.
Because they've both been sitting on it for a while.
Yeah.
And I think, certainly we trusted from Rick coming up here, and Mr. Gimbel's he's made solid, reasonable decisions throughout the time he's been on there, I think, and, what works and what doesn't work. Maybe get an idea, because you might be able to focus that attention. We really need to hit this section of the guidelines and regulations, or, hey, this works, this didn't work,
Right.
and stuff like that.
Okay.
I mean, and that gets the buy-in from that committee.
That's true.
They get their input.
Yeah.
But I definitely think if you're going to retweak all of this, making it clear when it goes to the BZA, getting a standard you're happy with for design review, and making it deferential to being basically upheld by BZA. If you're going to say anywhere that economic considerations don't matter, then they shouldn't matter when you get to the BZA. They should be saying, did you follow, the questions of law, did they follow the guidelines? If BZA says you just didn't follow your own rules, we're going to apply the rules, overturn you there, what appellate courts would call de novo review. If you just apply the law wrong, the appellate court doesn't have to defer to you. But if you get the facts wrong, they should be somewhat deferential, saying, you don't get a second stab at the facts, you have to present the evidence you're going to do factually, and they generally shouldn't be reconsidering the evidence. Sometimes the word is abuse of discretion. There's times where I remember looking at a case where it's like, I was looking at it in somewhat of an appellate capacity from a board and doing research for a judge, and the answer was, I might weigh these facts differently, but hearing it on appeal, it's not my job to weigh the facts.
Right.
So in that regard, I'm going to uphold their decision because their determination wasn't arbitrary. It wasn't out of the ballpark. I just would have weighed it differently. So I defer to them and I uphold on that ground. Sorry if I'm being overly worried.
No, it's good. Matt, I think you're really on the right direction here, is that we want to get the process right.
Yes.
So that
we're not back here in a year.
Right.
Well, yeah, but if if you guys work, if we work hard enough to get it right, then the BZA is almost irrelevant. And I think that's the whole goal of everybody, especially, that we're working for. I really like the way, and that's the comments I'm getting, you guys we're pushing in the right direction. Let's just not rush to judgment on it. Let's, as you said, we're taking our time to get it right the first time. And maybe is there a revision sometime down the road? Sure. 2 years from now, we go, that section wasn't really.
Well, more likely, we're gonna have to revise something anyway, because 5 years from now, or maybe even sooner, something that we said, hey, this is how this would be great. Guess what? That may not even be something that's realistic anymore. So we know we're probably going to have to revisit it, but making it easy to go down that road again the next time is something that we definitely have
Like
to
the
do.
financial consideration or the economic consideration for the rules, the guidelines, I mean, you might say, I'm sure there will be some that'll say, well, now it's going to be that chaos, the thought process. But, I mean, if we're increasing, let's say this for an idea, and this is just for an example. If we change the rules, obviously the size in the back, council talked about this, about that just being kind of like, hey, fix it as you see fit, let's make the best. Well, now we want to save the face. And I think that's great. I don't want to ruin the historical integrity by any means, but I think, something, for an example, would say, hey, if the cost of revitalizing or restoring that face exceeds the value of the building, then you got to allow them to take a different route economically. Now, we increase property values, everyone's doing good. Investors that come from out of town, I don't know if you know how investing works, but they look at their real estate, like they'll pull up the state auditor's website and say, man, this town, for some reason, their real estate's going up. What's going on? That encourages people to invest. So obviously they're investing money in their own community.
I think you're referencing the county auditor.
The county auditor's website, right, not state.
You're fine.
Yeah, but so like we want to see Galion thrive and flourish. And this is, like you said, last meeting, this is a living ordinance. If we have to change this 10 years down the road, then we change it back to say, hey, well, now you have to resort to break if you're going to make any changes because everyone's making money. But right now, we drive around town, we all see it. So I'm just trying to make it easier for what's the current state of Galion's economy, that's all.
I just looked at a building this evening. It happens to be a brick building. I don't think that most people know this, but the east side of it is literally crumbling off of it. And it's not good. And I'm sitting here thinking, if I make a bid on this building, how hard is it going to be to fix this building, right?
That's the thing.
I agree.
And this is sad because if you look at the building, I really do like the building, but I even sitting at this table, I can't imagine what it would be like having to deal with the existing board of town to make this building, to make the proper repairs. I can't imagine what I would have to do. I know what I want to do with it if that were to happen, but as it stands right now, I don't know what, I can't imagine. The only option would be, the cheapest option, tear the building down.
Oh, man.
That would be cheaper than making the repairs according to the existing. And that's sad that this town is in that position right now. So hopefully we can move forward and make them changes with it.
I'll posit procedurally. I know you guys are working because it's a big change.
It is.
If you take what is, and I think it's been evaluated by most of council as not working. If you get something that's mechanically running again, and you get it 95% right, you'll see that as a significant improvement. If we have to come back and say 5% or 2 or 3 pieces of it didn't quite fit, or hey, you kept this one more than a typo, like this redundancy from what you kept in the ordinance and your new guidelines don't quite mesh up, and you gotta fix 1 or 2 of those after you get 95% of it working, call it a win. Yeah. Honestly, and we can come back and tweak. Like I said, the big one, I still think needs to go through some time so you can flesh out as much of that, but the odds are, if you're keeping some level of the ordinance and some of the guidelines, you're gonna find something goofy that doesn't get caught, that might be off. That there is a point where perfection becomes the enemy of getting something good done. So just,
here's a perfect way to look at that too. Brian, how many times do you guys look at the budget before you pass it? And how many times do you find mistakes when you look at that budget?
There's still mistakes on it.
No, but that's my point, like, and we're talking about something that you guys are staring at constantly. It's gonna happen, we know it's gonna happen, and things are gonna change constantly.
Yeah.
I think we're good with that. I think once, Matt, and then, all of us kind of review through this thing and.
Tweaking
So-
is just necessary, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right. So at council, we can suspend the rules, approve these, and then when would the first meeting be where they have to decide, or you decide, who's
I can
deciding?
sign it on Wednesday and they can have a meeting on Wednesday hereafter.
Yeah.
If we can get a hold of them and figure out.
What's the minimum notice after we get that to let everyone know to get that meeting set?
We have to advertise, right?
Yeah, but we could, 24.
But if we have the people together Wednesday and we've got the dates that we can get it set.
Thursday, Friday, following Monday.
So quickly,
The young lady was in Monday and was asking about it.
Okay.
She literally, because they want to move forward.
7 working days for sure.
did you
Right.
give them,
I said, my thought is probably a month, and she goes, can it be faster? I said, I will work on it. And again, we're today, next Tuesday, you'll have the ordinance, assuming that the 2 members are approved by the full council, and then I get with Julie, we advertise it, well, we get with the 4 members, make sure they can make a meeting.
And at least, as long as you have at least 3 of them available, then you have your
I
quorum.
think, based on the application, it's not a rubber stamp, but it should be pretty simplified because there's a precedent's already been set with what they want to do. So it's not out of the realm of what they want to do, but they need that certificate of
Appropriate.
Appropriate.
that one.
Yeah,
Yes.
appropriateness, appropriate.
But may I also make a suggestion that now that we're moving a little bit in a bigger direction on this thing, and we got some clear direction, that we don't do open councils again.
Absolutely.
That we keep this in-house here within your committee as opposed to doing the full council, because while we're not really treading on it, it's been more of a council of a whole in that conversation as opposed to having something come from committee and then going to full council.
Until the ordinance is ready to.
And then
Right.
certainly we can have the public hearing and all that stuff, and people are more than welcome to come to these meetings and participate in these.
Right. Okay.
I do make that very clear when somebody has something to say because they watched it on that lovely thing, social media, that as I got told, my political answer was the meeting is Tuesday at 7, and they didn't like that answer, so. But if you have something to say and you want to bring it up to everyone, that is the best time to do it.
And I've said that too, and I've had some people say, but I work on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
And
I get that.
fair enough, so.
We have, as far as other business goes, I do have a question, and since Michael's here first with me, I think this might be the continuity of government for the seats not getting changed out all at once. So on the next election, or it be the election after, right?
It would be the next election.
Be the next election that we stagger, we set up something, basically rearrange council. And I would also suggest the auditor and the mayor's office be different. So you two are replaced.
That'd be 4 years, so.
You guys are 4 years, but even if you staggered, because right now there's an election every 2 years, regardless of council, so maybe the next election would, for your guys' position, one would be for 2 years, and then 4 years, and pick back up on the 4 years for the other. That way, there's continuity of government. You want to go to a brand new auditor, brand new mayor, wouldn't get a brand new council, and just a whole clean slate this way. I mean, it's nice having a.
Everybody but the city treasurer is up in the same year.
Right, absolutely. And, it was nice, we walked in and Mr. Weber, Mr. Richards here, and that was fantastic. There's some continuity, but if someone would have ran to oppose them, we could have had a whole new council. And when you talk in these committee meetings, it's almost like, well, where does this start and what happened and what brought us to this point? And I think we need some continuity to to bring the new group in, and I think that's something that needs to be looked at, honestly.
How do you adjust that? And I've thought about this since you mentioned it.
We've talked about that briefly. I think Michael's already done some research on that, so.
I haven't gotten a lot into that one yet. That's one I'm gonna have to put more time into.
Couple trains of thought. 100% agree with you. The question would be, do you take in the next, so you guys are 2 years, so that's 27.
Yeah.
You guys will run
27, 420.
27 for 28.
Yeah.
So you go, the 4 wards are for a 1-year term for this, and then and then it'll switch, and then, or do you go for the first time? And again, figuring out how to deal with board of elections, does it have to go to a full vote for the city? Or do you go to 4-year terms and go, council at large is going to be for 2 years this election, and then at large, and the wards will be 4, and then it will be
4 years for
4 years after that.
Every 2 years.
So a lot of these end up getting set up in such a way where if you're gonna, basically if you're switching like 4 years or something, somebody runs for a relatively short term, like a 2-year instead of a 4, and then you adjust it so the long term everything makes sense. I see this when you start looking through things about appointing to fill vacancies. It gets really weird really fast, but the grand answer is you don't upset how the term runs. When you get back to the next general election for that whole term, it goes back to normal.
Right.
So even though it might be mechanically wonky when you set it up for that first couple of years, it will get back to normal, just so you set up how the stagger works. I do think municipal, even if we get there, we need to keep it an off-year election, so that's the way the municipalities kind of run. I do think if you're going to do that, you're probably going to have to switch to 4 years to make the stagger work.
Right.
But I think I'm going to have to look into more detail.
And if you do change to 4 years, that has to go to the voters.
So that might be,
Correct. So,
because every other year, it's the same thing with Congress. In theory, the Senate, you can replace a third of them. At the U.S. level, in theory, every 2 years, you could change the entire U.S. House of Representatives. It just doesn't politically work that way. The same thing with the state
I want to
legislature.
say you're dealing with 450 officials there, not 7, so that's.
Yeah, and the same thing with the 99 state reps at the Ohio legislature. You could change every state rep in one cycle if in fact the voters wanted to.
Right.
But I agree, at a smaller level with 7 people, you have much higher turnover, a much higher probability. And I think you came, frankly, in this last election, if you didn't count people switching seats, you had most of that. I think, I started becoming the senior one at 1 year running for retention. When you consider the mayor swap spots, the auditor swap spots, etc.
Let's think about it now before
Yeah,
it's time to get going.
absolutely. That's I think that means we gotta get ahead of that one. So,
Good stuff.
is there anything else?
I don't know. Make a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Makes a motion adjourned.
Dang, you need to, I second.
Mr. Wood makes seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
8:51.
It was like,
He fell asleep.